is the lesson for Chapter 4, Section 5, titled Writing a Function Rule. And so let's take a look at our first type of problem here. It says the price P of an ice cream is. Now, right here, they're telling us a variable, and there's going to end up being two variables that we're going to end up looking for. And so our general form is going to end up being like this, like y equals, and then some sort of number, maybe like a 2x, and then maybe like a plus 3. So there's going to be two variables, a y and then an x. And so that's what we're looking for as we're doing these problems. So I see price P. They're naming that right now. So I know P represents price of an ice cream is. Now this is a key word here. So when you see the word is or are, these words here define where the equal sign goes. And so I'm going to start with that. So P equals, the price equals. And so it's $3.95 plus. Okay, well they're kind of giving this away. They're saying $3.95 and then an addition sign. And then right here, 85 cents for each. So when we see the word for each, or that phrase, or if we see the word per, that tells us that we're going to multiply that 85 hundredths by a number. So we're going to multiply it, in this case, by the toppings, T. And so that's what that represents. So when we see that word for each, that typically tells us that we need to multiply. And so we're going to multiply, in this case, the 85 cents by the toppings, and that'll be our expression. So 0.85t. And so that's the writing a rule to represent the situation. So here it says the babysitter's earnings E. And then it says R. R or is tells us that we've got that equal sign. So we're going to start with E equals, and then it says are a function of. So whenever we see a function of, that also tells us that we have the equal sign. So this E is a function of, we've got the E equals, so a function of a number of hours N worked at a rate of $7.25. So see, we have that per hour. And so per hour, N is the number of hours. If we multiply $7.25 per hour times hours, you see how those hours are going to end up canceling out. We're just left with dollars, and that's what we want. And so that's what we want for E. E is going to equal dollars, an amount earned. And so we're going to set this up as $7.25 times N, and that would be our answer. So let's take a look at the next one. The price P of a club membership is, okay, key word there, is. And so that tells me I'm going to have an equal sign. So we're going to start with P equals, and that is $30 for an enrollment fee. So usually the enrollment fee just means like it's a one-time charge. One-time charge. And so that means we're not going to see that again. So it's going to be like the $3.95 in that ice cream problem. So we've got the $30 plus, and then it says $12 per week W. Okay, so per week tells us that we're going to multiply 12 by the number of weeks, because $12 per week looks like this. $12 per week. If we multiply by the number of weeks, then the weeks will end up canceling, and we're just left with a dollar amount. And plus the $30 will end up giving us the total price in dollars. So we've got to write that as 12W. So let's take a look at the next one, at plumber's fees, F, R. And okay, so fees, F. And then when we see that word R or is, tells us we got an equal sign. $75 for a house call. $75 for a house call. And $60 per hour H. So when we see that $60 per hour, that tells us that we've got that multiplication of 60 times the number of hours to give us a dollar amount, plus the $75 equals the fee. So this one says a hot dog D costs $1 more than 1/5 the cost of a hamburger. And so we start off with cost D is, or costs $1, so $1 more than, so we're going to add $1 to half the cost of a hamburger. So half the cost of a hamburger, and that would represent our answer. So let's take a look at another type of problem that we'll end up seeing. And it says Jose is 3 years younger than 3 times his brother's age. So and then we'll continue reading here. It says write a rule to represent Jose's age J. Okay, they want us to use J. Now, notice they have the word is right here. Is means equals. So we've got J equals 3 years younger. So we've got minus 3. And take 3 away from 3 times his brother's age. And we're supposed to use B for his brother's age. So 3B. And so that's going to be Jose's age. And now what they say is, how old is Jose if his brother is 5 years? So this is part of the problem right here. Now we're going to take that 5 years and put it in for B. So 3 times 5 makes 15, minus the 3, and we get Jose is equal to 12 years. So there we have it. Let's take a look at the next one. A taxi cab charges $4.25 for the first mile and $1.50 for each additional mile. Write a rule describing the total rate as a function of. So when we do that, when you see as a function of, that's going to tell us to put the equal sign. So the rate as a function of the total of miles, total miles. So we've got $4.25. We're going to add on the rate of $1.50 per mile, or each mile, M. And what is the rate after 12 miles? So we've got the first part. That is the formula. Now we're going to go ahead and substitute. So we've got R equals $4.25, and then plus 1.5 times by 12. So go ahead and multiply there. And so we've got for each additional mile. Let me check that real quick. Actually, if we're not going to, let's fix this real quick because it says $4.25 for the first mile. If it was just a $4.25 charge, this would be right, in this formula would be right. But because it says for the first mile, we need to modify our equation a bit. So let's go ahead and erase this part. And we're going to modify that just a bit by doing this. We're going to change this M, instead of an M, to an M minus 1. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because, again, as I was reading this, I read a little bit too quickly, and I thought that was just $4.25 charge without any mileage, but it says for the first mile. So after each additional mile, then he's going to pay that $1.50. So we've got to take away that first mile from how many miles total he ends up driving. So now we modified the formula correctly, and let's go ahead and substitute to find the rate. So 12 miles, we're going to have 1.5 times by 12 minus 1. So that's 1.5 times by 11, and then we'll add on that $4.25. So that gives me $16.50. And then plus the $4.25, so it looks like the total amount, the rate is going to be $20.75. So let's take a look at the next one. It says write a function rule for the area of a rectangle whose length is. Okay, so once we see that, the length is, I'm going to write down L equals, and then I'm going to do 4 more than its width. So 4 more than its width. So now I've got that expression. Now it says what is the area of the rectangle when its width is 8. Okay, so area we need to know is length times width. So instead of writing this length and width, we're going to write W plus 4. We're going to put that in place of the L, and then I'm going to multiply that by W. So this is the formula that we're going to end up using here. So now I know what W is, so let's go ahead and find out the area. So it says 8 plus 4, and then I'm going to multiply that by 4, or by 8, by the width. And so 12 times 8 makes 96. And let's see what our units are. Inches squared. That'll be my area in this case. So moving on to the next one, it says write a function rule for the area of a rectangle whose length is 3 feet more than 2 times the width. Okay, the length 3 feet more than. So the length is 3 feet more than 2 times its width. So that's the expression I have for this part. So the length is 3 feet more than 2 times its width. So 2w plus 3. Now, the area formula goes this way. It goes area equals length times width, and I substitute in. So I've got the area equals, and then I'm going to write 2w plus 3 multiplied by w. So I go ahead and multiply this out. Now I have area equals, and I would end up with a 2w squared plus 3w. That's one way to do it. And so if I just plug in 4 for the w, let's see what happens. So 2 times by 4 squared plus 3 times by 4. So I square first. So I've got an area equals, and I've got 2 times by 16 plus 12. So that makes 32 plus 12, ends up giving me 44. So 44 feet squared is the area. So it says write a function rule for the area of a triangle with a base of 2 meters less than 4 times its height. So now we've got base equals, so the base is 2 meters less, so 2 meters less than 4 times the height, so 4h. And so what is the area if the height is 8? So let's go ahead and write out the formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height, and substitute in. So it's area equals 1/2, and then the base is 4h minus 2 times by h. So what I do on this is I'm going to take half of these numbers first. It'll make it easier. So the area formula is changing to 2h minus 1, still times by h. So if I distributed this, I'd end up with this. A equals 2h squared minus h. And then I'll go ahead and substitute. So now I've got A equals 2 times by 8 squared minus 8. So 2 times by 64, you got to do exponents before we multiply there, and that makes 128. Subtracting 8 from 128 gives me 120. And these are meters squared. So these are the types of problems you're going to see on tonight's assignment. Good luck.